tube will rupture and you will have internal hemorrhage, and by the time you reach the hospital, you may not even reach the hospital. So it should not be taken unless an ultrasound has confirmed that you have a pregnancy inside the uterus and not in the tube or anywhere else. So it is important that you do it. Then don't use, people as becoming so common. Both of us are working. This is my new job. We didn't know, we just got pregnant. Can we take something and can you terminate this pregnancy? Do you know any method of family planning is 300 times safer than any method of abortion and 500 times safer than a pregnancy? Pregnancy is not without its complications. So it is important that, you know, if you're not planning a pregnancy, you talk about everything under the sun with your fiancé these days. Why don't we discuss this? Because girls think if they show an interest in this, it will be considered that they are very, you know, open or inverted commas में fast girls. So they don't bring up this topic. The boys think, well, she's a girl, she ought to know everything. So the result is nobody is talking about the most important thing, and they end up getting pregnant and then going quietly to the doctor and saying, don't tell our parents because they will tell us to have this baby. Give us something or do something so that we don't have this baby. And this is all, no, forget about after marriage, this is happening in the premarital stage also. And this is why I say that it is important that you have a dialogue with your children, so even premarital sex is not safe. You can end up with infertility, you can end up with so many problems, and if it is important that they learn how to handle themselves properly. Okay, contraception, so you must advise them. They'll say contraception, इसमें complications होते हैं. MTP करवाने में या termination में नहीं complications होते हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा होते हैं. Diet, as I told you before planning a pregnancy, you should have a good diet, and whatever other doubts you may have. So those should also be clarified. Before planning a pregnancy, health checkup, tests are done, investigations. Okay, when you go to a doctor for the first time, supposing you are pregnant and you go to the doctor orders a whole battery of tests, which are standardized, which are recommended by the WHO, and which every country may have some additional test depending upon their own cultural or whatever it is. Now those tests should ideally be done before you get pregnant. And just in case you do get pregnant, those tests are still going to be useful. So people say कि अरे नहीं जब pregnant होंगे तब करा लेंगे, अभी क्यों करा रहे हैं test, इतने पैसे लग जाएंगे. Well, if you have to look, wait. See, health is something people don't want to spend money on. They will spend money on everything else, but health is something, if it could come free, health care, that would be ideal. The government is trying its best, but you see the coiffures are not unlimited. And it is our responsibility to save every bit, save our health for the sake of our family and everybody else. You need to take multivitamins if you are short on things like that. But normally we do give as a routine folic acid several months before you plan a pregnancy. And special tests may have to be ordered depending upon your history. Was there a history of a Down's baby in your family? Was there a history of tuberculosis? Was there a history of you having suffered from something? All those tests, special tests may have to be done. Next slide, please. Early pregnancy, assessment of health, diet and exercise, investigation, special tests, detecting high-risk pregnancies. All pregnancies are not the same, and even in the same woman, no two pregnancies will be identical. One pregnancy you may sail through, and the other pregnancy you may be just, you know, besought with so many other problems that you may. And therefore, timely management is very, very important. And you need to understand why your doctor has said something. You have the freedom or the liberty to ask your doctor. If I tell you, ki, no, you in the morning you eat this, in the afternoon you eat this, you will wonder why. Why can't I eat this in the afternoon and this in the morning or whatever? So ask. Don't be scared to ask your doctor. And if your doctor doesn't have the time to explain, then find other ways or find another doctor. Next, mature women, you are nearing the menopause. I would like to say one thing here. The average age of menopause of the Indian ladies is earlier than their Western counterparts. The average age of menopause in the West is 50 years of age, but women in India, their menopausal age, we have carried out several studies, is between any time after 45. So they actually have their menopause several years earlier. The impact of this is that a woman of 35 can be very fertile abroad, or a woman of 37 can be very fertile in the Western countries, but the over quality or the quantity is already deteriorating in the Indian woman. So they're saying that we will delay our pregnancies because so-and-so has had a baby and so-and-so has a baby, is going to be detrimental to you. Don't be taken in by this latest thing that has come up, 72-year-old gives birth. That was first of all a wrong thing to do, even by the doctors, should not have been encouraged, because pregnancy complications in a 72-year-old, she was lucky that she made it. But she did not have her own eggs. The eggs were taken from a younger woman, fertilized with the husband's sperms and put back in her uterus. So women are carrying on this with this concept, oh, I can get pregnant. If 72-year-old, I'm 32 hai. I'm only 35. So what's the big deal? No, you are an Indian and your menopause, the hormonal changes of menopause, if your menopause is going to be at 45, the hormonal changes set in 10 to 12 years earlier. So already your hormones will be on the decline. They reach such a low level that your periods stop by the age of 45. So it is important to know this. This is also the stage when you have cancer, heart problems, osteoporosis, BP, thyroid, diabetes. Now, in India, we have a big dichotomy. We have this urban population and the rural population. And there is a big divide in the health of these people. In the rural population, infectious diseases, etc., are still a major problem. Communicable diseases are a problem. In the urban population, it's lifestyle diseases which are becoming more common. Diabetes, thyroid, blood pressure, osteoporosis. We have been carrying out a study on doing vitamin D on all our patients, and believe me, I have yet to find somebody who had a normal vitamin D level. Because nobody is working out in the sun. The olden age people used to say, Surya Namaskar karo. People are having a lot of controversy over it. But I tell you, forget religion, keep religion. Let's not enter into religion. Let's look at as an individual, a health. And that had an exercise which exercised every muscle of your body. Then they said, malish laga karke subah ke dhoop mein khade ho, 10-15 minute aap wo kar, that is sufficient to give you sufficient vitamin D. If that is not there, you have your own ways of doing it. You don't have to necessarily do that same exercise, but the idea is exercise, strengthening. Now, exercises, I would like to add one more thing here. Everybody is now, it's a big fashion to go to the gym. And in the gym, if you go, you need to differentiate. There may be some very good ones. I'm not saying all gyms are bad or whatever, but most of the gyms are doing muscle training. And it's, dumbbell lift karo, I have this constant argument even with my son at times. I used to have it, but I've just given up. So, lifting. So what you require is, supposing you are doing these exercises, then only one set of muscles is exercise. If I do this, then what is happening, these muscles are always getting contracted. Okay? They do not have a chance to get this extension or stretching. So the stretching of muscles is equally important. And that is why, over generations, if you see through the ages, people living in the hills are usually short. Because they are always walking crouched upward. So their muscles have not allowed their bones to expand. So it has become now a genetic feature for them. And it also depends which area you are living in and what is your lifestyle. So stretching is very important. So going to the gym and only doing weight training is no good. The stretching exercises are equally important. So if they are not, next slide please. I want to finish before I, aage badh ja, aage. Iron deficiency, where our Federation of Obstetricians and Gynecologists has taken up this crusade that the hemoglobin of 12 by the age of 12. Everybody should have that hemoglobin. Next. So we'll skip this. Okay, 1 minute. I can't see my slide myself. I'll come here. Iron deficiency. Now let me forget about being pale. If a mother is anemic during her pregnancy, the IQ of the child is going to be lower. The child is going to be irritable, will not perform as well in school. So it is not कि सिर्फ खून है, hemoglobin 80 तो है, what's the big deal? That hemoglobin should have been corrected before you got pregnant. So that, because once you are pregnant, the hemoglobin is being drawn by the baby. Baby is like a parasite. Literally अगर कहो तो जोंक लग गई अंदर, जो कि आप में से न्यूट्रिशन खींच करके ले रही है, और कहाँ से लेगी? और आप में ही स्टोर नहीं है, तो फिर क्या होगा? कुछ देर तक तो बेबी कोप कर लेगा, फिर उसमें आप में ही हीमोग्लोबिन 6 हो जाएगा, 8 हो जाएगा, तो बेबी को आप क्या देंगी? So as a result, it is very iron. They eat less, they are weak, they get tired easily, they are irritable, they have shorter attention spans, and fall ill more frequently and fail to grow normally. And this is if you are anemic in pregnancy and the child is also anemic thereafter. Next slide, please. So it is also associated with developmental delays and cognitive motor skills. Next. Forget the requirement. Aage, next. Folic acid. Sorry. Folic acid is very, very important. It is a water-soluble vitamin, and it is a very important constituent of cell division. And the most active cell division occurs when a pregnancy. Because you see, it starts from half a cell from the mother's side and the father's side, and then they divide and keep on dividing. So the rapid growth which occurs in 9 months does not occur ever in your lifetime. So this cell division, if you are deficient in folic acid, you will not only prevent anemia, you will prevent birth defects. And they have also found studies which show that, forget about the spinal cord defect, even heart defects are less common in people who are have adequate intake of birth defects. They also help to prevent heart disease, stroke, and certain cancers. People say कि हमारे older लोगों में तो कुछ नहीं होता था. ठीक है, नहीं होता था older लोगों में. But do you realize they did not use all these artificial pesticides or artificial things which are added? If you are going to put urea into the plant just because it will grow fast, what is urea going to do? It is not going to do nothing but give you urea and your children also urea. So you're not getting multivitamins. Therefore, we have to supplement. Previously, everything was healthy. 30 years ago, the nutrients of 1 apple are not even equivalent to 3 apples of today. This is the fall in the nutritional value. I mean, I think you must have addressed all these in your, which I would have. Anyway, so all these cellular division, cancers are nothing but cellular division. Disordered cellular division is cancer. Next slide, please. Now, this is when the baby is growing. The first part in a baby which develops is, it's like a flat plate of cells, rounded, which is going to develop into the fluid and everything. At the back, then it begins to turn like this and forms the spinal cord. So the heart and the spinal cord are the first things, not the heart, the blood vessels. Otherwise, how is the nutrition going to spread everywhere? It's formed very early. And if you are deficient in vitamins at that stage, you are going to have abnormalities. So this is actually just diagrammatic, the sperm fertilizing the egg, cellular division. And here's at different stages, they have shown. At this stage, the third one on the top, all fetuses look the same, whether it is a rabbit or whether it is a human, they look more or less the similar. It is only after that they begin to differentiate and look different. Next slide, please. Now this is all folic acid deficiency. And then say कि हम तो आपको शुरू से दिखा रहे थे, कैसे हो गया? You tell them, okay, these things can be picked up in early ultrasounds. And don't think any ultrasoundologist is good enough. Any machine is only good enough as behind the person sitting and interpreting it. So these can be picked up. And we tell, and most of these tests should be completed by the time you have completed 5 months. But usually what happens is, in the Indian scenario, people get pregnant, especially in fertility के बाद भी. Once they are pregnant, they are so happy. अब हम अपनी मम्मी के यहाँ जा रहे हैं. For 4 months they have disappeared मम्मी के यहाँ.